again, guys. My name is Ishan, and you learned a few pieces about chess. There was the rook and the bishop. And again, I'm going to tell you a news about those two. Now, we have two figures of both of these in one team. Alright, now let's continue the figure we started to learn, and that's the knight. Now, I'm going to show you how the knight moves. So, the knight can move in this way. It goes one way, like this. See? It goes two squares in one direction in a 90-degree angle, just like the shape of an arrow. Now, the knight is only the piece that can jump over other pieces, not hop. Then, like for example, what I mean hop is, if there's a piece right next to the knight, he can simply jump over it. And the knights move two ways, in one way, and then go that way. So, let's give it a good practice. Alright, now, pawn in the way, another knight in the way, no problem. People would say knights, ha, for the special ability to ha over other pieces. Check out these knight hops. Now, hold on, I just have to check how the knight hop will go. Hold on, just a minute. Alright, check out these knight hops. Yippee, here we go. Now I'm going to capture someone. Whee! Okay, now, that was the knight. I gave you a thing. Here are all the pieces that we already learned. Now, next let's learn another good way. Another good, easy piece to understand. And that's the queen. The queen is actually the most powerful piece in chess. And now, the queen can move both, like the rook and the bishop. And now, I just want to tell you an info about the rook. Some of my friends like to call the rook a tower of power. Now let's study the queen. Now, I'm going to show you on the board again. Now, we study the queen like this. See, the queen can move any number of squares. She can go sideways, up, down, and she can go diagonally. And now, I just want to tell you another info that I forgot about another piece. Okay, I'll show you that. Now, it's about the bishops. As I told you before, the bishops, we have two of them in a real board. And one bishop will go on the light square and one on the dark square. That means they can never move on a light. This bishop can never move on a light square because he's on a dark square. This one can never move on a dark square because he's on a light square. Now, that's only the info. Now, next let's learn actually the most complicated piece. And I'll tell you that one. And another thing about the knight. We have two knights. Now, I'm going to tell you that complicated thing. Now, it's the pawns. The pawn is the complicatedest piece to understand. Now, I'm going to give you a practice. A pawn moves in one direction but captures in a different direction. So, like for example, if the pawn moves two squares, now if the pawn goes here, you might be thinking that this pawn can now capture this pawn, but it cannot. Like I told, pawns move in one way and capture in a different way. When they move, they just go forward. And when they capture, they go diagonally. Now, like this is the situation. This pawn can even move one forward or capture this piece, like that. Now, and there's another thing. At the starting position, when the game begins, the pawn can only move one square forward like this, or it can move 2 squares forward like this. Okay, now you know that the pawns don't move backwards or capture backwards. Now, and you have actually, hold on, 8 pawns. Those are many pawns. I think I like to get them so that you don't get confused. Alright, I'm just gonna do them like this. Alright, these are all the pieces we learned. And now, the last piece, and the last piece is the most important king, and the piece, which is the king. The king, if you lose the king, then the game is over. Now, let's learn the king. Now, the king can move only one number square. He can only move one at a time square. He can't move like the queen. And he can only go, and he can go forward, backward, sideways, or diagonally. Okay, now you learned all the pieces. Now I'm going to show you how to set them up. Now, I'll show you. So, I told you before in part 1 that the light color should have A to H. That's the position we need to have. And now, the pawns move by the first side by the board. And it's okay if the pawns go on the black square. It's only designed that way so that you can see also the light squares. Alright, the pawn goes like this. And now, the rooks, they go to the corners of the board. And you need a board for chess. You're never able to play chess if you don't have a board. And now, the knights are going to be placed next to the rooks. And then the bishops are going to be placed next to the knights. And then the queens go on the remaining square. That means that the white queen goes on the white square. And the black queen goes on the black square. Then you simply place the king on the remaining square. And now, I'm going to set up that same row by the other side. I'm doing a lot of practices so that you can learn chess completely. And as you know, I'm going to teach you everything about chess that I know. If I don't know anything, and it's not going to be in this video, just select out one of another videos about chess. You can watch it like that if I forget anything. Now let's go. I'm going to set up in the same row where it was before. Now, we'll place the king and the queen. And this is how it should be. Queen opposite queen, king opposite king. And now, let's give you a show. Now I was just showing you how to set up the board. And there's something very, very, very important about the king. Now, when another piece is about to threaten to capture the king, then the player I meant this. See, if you capture a piece in chess, you simply take the figure to that piece's square and remove that piece that you took from the board. Okay? And now, if you have a piece trying to capture the king, then the player who's trying to capture the king has to say check. Check is the position about the king being threatened. Now, then, there are 3 ways you can get out of check. Now, you can go to a safe square. These are the safe squares. Or you could block the check with another piece, or you capture the checking piece. So, what I mean block the check is like if I block the king with the queen, then the rook can get the king. Now, and what I meant go to a safe square is you just move to a square where the player is not there. And what I meant capture the checking piece, I meant that you simply take a piece. So I assume that that's there. the queen, and then you simply capture the checking piece. And now, I wanted to tell you another thing. So, I'm gonna remove the other pieces that I don't need to show you the thing with. Remove all of these. Okay, now, what will happen if this pawn gets to the end of the board like this, or this pawn gets to the end of the board like this? That's something called pawn promotion. That means if it goes there, the pawn will simply transform either to a queen, a rook, and I think a knight, and a bishop. It can transform to one of these pieces. Transform I meant that the piece simply goes away and the piece goes there. Now this is being threatened. Now that's called pawn promotion. Now I'll show you another situation about the king. Now there is, wait, there is an SU. There's a thing that, hold on, I'll set up the board where I wanted, how I wanted it to be. Now, hold on. Just gonna show you that situation. I'm gonna get my pieces that I need to show you the situation with. Now, I'll show you it. Now, get this. Now, this is it. See, now, if there's a way about, no, wait, that's not it. Now, there's no way about the king getting out of check. It's called checkmate. That player should tell who's threatening the king, because checkmate means in check you can't move to a safe square and capture the checking piece or block the check. Like for example, the king can't go to these 3 squares because the black king guards them. The king can't go to these 2 squares because the black rook guards them. And the bishop is not in a position to capture the rook. And now, it's checkmate and the game is over. And there's another thing that you should really think about. And I'm just going to get the figures, I need those. So, this is called kingside castling. That means this is only a way where you can move both of your figures at once, which is to play in between the king and the rook. So, that means the rook simply goes, the king simply goes 2 squares next to the rook. The rook is going to place on the other side of the king. That's called kingside castling. And if he does that on the other side, that's queenside castling. But this is something very important you have to do. The king is being threatened in check, but he can't castle through check. Because if you're in check, you can't castle to the rook. You can't do that because the king is being in check. And you can also not castle if you have already moved your king somewhere else. And this is another situation. The king can't castle because the black rook guards the square. Now, you have to remember, you can't castle when you're in check, you can't castle through check. And now, I hope you enjoyed this video so far. Now, get a mail to this video, and please let me know if I forgot anything and left that off. Now, see you for one of the next videos.